pertain to this project or anything that I'm stating that you need clarity on, or if you just want to simply give a comment, you can send an email to this link, and at the end of the meeting, for all question related or program related comments and questions, we'll make sure we include that in the end. And I'll try to remember to keep reminding you of the link. So this is the link for comments of tonight, and then you'll get a second link that's going to be pertaining to if you wish to have additional participation of this program. You'll see a second link, and I'll make sure you write that down as well. Okay. So let's start off with our welcome and introductions. My name is Shayla Reed. As mentioned, I'm the Community Development and Regulatory Affairs Director, and the team as well, there as well on the team as well. So I think we can open it up to allow for the team to introduce themselves.
Sure. My name is Nathan Lombardo. I'm the Planning and Zoning Administrator for the city.
Hi, my name is Marissa Jackson. I'm a planner here for the city of South Fulton.
Good evening. My name is Dana Gray. I'm a planner here for the city of South Fulton.
Awesome. Thank you, team. Thank you so much. Okay, so now, what is a comprehensive plan and why is it important? That's one of my favorite questions. Like, what is it and why do we need it? Well, let's talk about that. So what is a comprehensive plan? Well, it sets forth the vision of a city. It tells you what exactly you're seeing in your city for the next 20 years. It identifies where we're seeing ourselves when decisions are being made. If you have a zoning decision coming before you, staff is going to lean on that document that we're speaking of, and it's going to give us an opportunity to provide some decisions or some recommendations over to council for their decisions. So as I mentioned, it's a long-range plan of 20 years with a 5-year update. It gives us an opportunity to partner with you, and we're excited about that, which is the purpose of tonight. We want to ensure that we further our communication opportunities by allowing for you to state your values, goals, objectives, and what you believe the policies of the city should be to allow for us to further guide this city. So this document definitely gives that opportunity. Once we've drafted that file, we have an opportunity to have the file reviewed and approved by the state. Those state agencies are the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, as well as the Atlanta Regional Commission. So we're pretty excited about this document as it goes forth, because again, once you're drafting or providing your comments, we draft the plan and the state then approves it to allow us to move forward with the vision. So again, it's important because when we're making zoning decisions, we're wanting to make sure we're following this document. It keeps us from being in the presence of biased decisions. It prevents us from having actions that appear to be arbitrary. So the more we are leaning on the comprehensive plan and decision making, it protects the city moving forward. We believe in hearing the voices of our residents as we're doing tonight, which would be your property owners, it'd be the business owners and residents. I'm pretty excited that I see some of our steering committee members on this call tonight. The steering committee serves as your representatives, you as residents, you as stakeholders. We've outlined the steering committee to be a selection of residents and business owners that have basically given us our marching orders to tell us that you've heard this and this from the residents, and this document needs to make sure it includes that. So they're the ones who will review it before it goes out to council. So the steering committee has a very huge role. And again, they're participating in this event tonight, so I'm excited to see that. It builds a consistency of commitment and allows for the officials to have a relationship with you all as stakeholders. Because again, you're stating your opinions and your desires. Residents are able to step in and say how they're seeing this community move forward for the next 20 years with a 5-year direct focus, as I mentioned. And once you see that and own that in the project as we're drafting it, I believe you'll see that the commitment is well in the partnership that the city's having with you. So I'm excited to see that. So again, the last component of that, once we've heard from you, we've drafted the file, the next step would be a work program. The work program outlines actions. I like to call it a checklist. So what happens in this work program, it identifies 5 years of programs, 5 years of plans and action items where the city must in fact complete in order to have the next update for the comprehensive plan. The state goes and says, okay, in your next update, you're required to do these 100+ things. And so when it's time to have it updated, is technically the report card or the checklist to see, did we in fact successfully complete that? So that's the component I want you all to pay very closely to, is the work program, because that's going to be the component that's going to be measured to our success to see if we completed that. The work program is going to identify, as I mentioned, projects. It's going to be entailed with a budget amount. It's going to be included of what particular department is responsible for completing that. For example, you may wish to have roads widened or installation of sidewalks. That a dollar amount that's associated with that will be included in the work program, and that particular department will be Public Works. So that's how the work program works. So let's talk about the relationship with the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan. There is in fact, strong relationship between these two documents. If a property owner comes in and he wishes to develop his land and it's not necessarily consistent with the current land use, which is zoning, or the future land use, which is the comprehensive plan, they must go before a zoning change request. That zoning change is sent over to mayor and council. And the first thing that staff does in their staff report is to write out a staff recommendation. We use two documents to do that. We take the zoning ordinance, which is your current land use, and then we take the comprehensive plan, which is your future land use. If in fact the request is not consistent with the comprehensive plan's future land use, staff will recommend denial. But if it is necessarily compliant or consistent with the future land use, we will recommend approval. So let's just say hypothetically, if it's not necessarily inside of the, or it's not consistent with the comprehensive plan and staff recommends denial, it doesn't necessarily mean the decision makers will go with the recommendation. And if they decide to go to approve an item that's not in the comprehensive future land use, then a future land use change is necessary by council as well. Okay. So let's talk about the process and requirements of how this thing is all laid out. How do we slice and dice it and make it work? So the first piece to any program or project that's community-based will always involve public engagement. It will always allow for there to be a presentation on what we're working on, what we're intending to have, and then the expected outcome, as I'm explaining to you, and then also allow for you to weigh in on what that expected outcome is. So we're doing that tonight, which is what we're doing with the public engagement. Once we hear back from you all with the various different components of public engagement, we'll begin researching and analyzing all the data that we've received from you, as well as your requests, and then looking to see how we can make that work into the 20-year document. Once we do that, all the findings are condensed, and we have a final document that we can then prepare for review by first the steering committee, as I mentioned, then next for council, and then once council gives us a go, we send it to the state for their review. And then once they say that we're good to go there, we send it back over to, or they send it back over to mayor and council for an adoption. So what does the full schedule look like? So the city of South Fulton, let's go back a little bit in track and space so that we can kind of tell the full story. The city of South Fulton decided to use the Fulton County's comprehensive plan that was drafted in 2016 when we became a city in 2017. And that allowed for us to then continue to operate as a city and allow for us to apply for funding, because without the comprehensive plan, you're not eligible for local grants and funding opportunities. So to continue to do that, we ensured that we adopted Fulton County's plan. That then set us on Fulton County's timeline of a 5-year deadline of 2021, which is what we're talking about tonight. And then our next update is due for 2026. We're scheduled to have our plan adopted by council no later than October 31st, 2021. That is a very hard stop that the state is expecting of us, for us to continue to have our qualified local government status for funding still available to us. We must meet that deadline, and we're on schedule, and we will remain on schedule. The city of South Fulton can in fact amend this plan should we desire to do it before 2026. We're not etched in stone to have this plan to remain for the full 5 years. I'm hoping and I'm very confident that by hearing from you, the plan that we're having to be drafted now and adopted will be in fact the plan we continue to have for 2026, because we're just that, great at writing it or competent in writing it, meaning when I say we, I'm speaking of you as residents and us as staff. So we're just making sure that whatever we have could in fact hold the time with 2026. But if not, no worries, we'll move on to updating it soon before then. So the comprehensive plan is very interesting. The state requires us to have a minimum of 4 things. Those 4 things are community goals, needs and opportunities, community work program, and the broadband service element. So those are the 4 minimum things that we must have. Now, again, partnering with you, hearing from you is going to help us draft those 4 things. What are the community goals? You're going to have to help us do that because we want to hear from you to know what your desires are for those goals. What are the needs and opportunities? You know, kind of giving us an opportunity to say, we need more opportunities for groceries. We need more opportunities for roads or improvements for our roads. Again, that community work program, once we hear from you on what those needs are, we put those needs inside of a work program. And then from there, that's again, my marching orders for community development. So, or for the city as a whole, actually. And again, so you can communicate better with each other. The state requires for us to consider broadband. So that's some of the things that we know as a minimum, every government must have in their comprehensive plan. Now, some comprehensive plans have 5 additional elements that they must include, but that's only if they meet other credentials that the state requires these additionals. And those additionals will be economic development, capital improvement, land use, transportation, and housing. So in the May 18th meeting, there were a lot of things discussed in the May 18th meeting. We were able to share with you the publicinput.com email link. And there's a link here on this screen that I want to make sure that you all jot down, which I mentioned to you earlier. There was going to be a second link that I wanted you all to jot down. If you could, please draft this down, because after tonight's event or tonight's meeting, you're going to still be expected or requested to participate with your public comments. And here's how you can do that. So there's a survey on this website that's going to allow for you to further give your input. It's outlining 3 phases for the project, and we're currently in the 2nd phase, which is the land use vision. So there's plenty of exercises on this link that I definitely encourage you to go to further hear from you. Again, it's the publicinput.com/2021 SF comp plan. Please participate in that tonight. And if you can't do it tonight, I strongly request to have you do it tomorrow or the day after, because we definitely need to hear from you so that we can be guided in your vision and your direction. Again, it's going to be continue to allow for there to be input heard throughout the whole project until we are close to completion of this document. So please participate. So what was discussed inside of the 2018 meeting? What do we hear back from you all as residents? We asked 2 primary questions. We asked residents, what are the challenges you're seeing in South Fulton? What are the assets here in South Fulton? I'm excited to say that I heard some of the things that were challenges that I believe this comp plan will be able to address. Perception, vision, identity, growth, having clear goals, attracting quality development. All of these things are the reasons we're here tonight, so that we can figure out how we can tackle these challenges with those particular action items that I mentioned with the short-term work program. I'm so excited to say that one of the comments was at the bridge on Cascade. Well, I'm excited to say we've completed that. So that's already one marker that we can, check off our list for completion. But in addition to identifying challenges, you all identified the assets of South Fulton. Proud to say that location was mentioned multiple times. We are, in fact, a great location for business, great location for residency, great location for any opportunities of entertainment, whether it be something just for families and so forth. We have a strong proximity to the river. That would be the Chattahoochee River. We have a strong proximity to the world's busiest airport in downtown, which is one of the reasons I chose this place as a home. We have the world's busiest airport that's less than 15 to 20 minutes, depending on where you are in the city. So we have a very diversified housing option. The environment is great. One of the things I love the most about South Fulton, I'm happy someone mentioned, are the trees. So I am in fact a tree hugger. I'm not ashamed to say that. I believe trees are necessary. It allows for us to breathe clean air. So I can tell you that we're all on the same vision and path when it comes to what the assets are here in the city of South Fulton. So the website identified there to be almost 3,000 people to visit this website. There were 148 participants with 700 responses, 193 comments, and 479 subscribers who are asking to keep them up to speed and up to date. So again, I strongly encourage you to visit the website so that you can in fact have grander details of where we are as we travel along this path of having this file completed. During the May 18th meeting, we had over 100 participants, and they all weighed in and gave their thoughts and their visions. It allowed for us to then move on to phase 2, because during that time we were in the phase 1. So we're being very successful, and I'm so proud of you all as residents for participating. As you can see, we've had a strong output, and that tells me that you as residents want to see some actions, want to see some things take place to move us forward. So I'm pretty proud to say that this document's going to be able to do that. So age distribution, we are a very young community. We have 37 as a median age here in the city of South Fulton. The median age for Fulton County is 35 and a half. So we are almost identical to what the Fulton County age group is here in South Fulton at 37. And you'll see in the section next to this is that there is, in fact, a strong population in females here in the city of South Fulton. We have 45 to 49 in age. Oh my gosh. So if you look next to that 35 to 39, we are in a very strong space as it pertains to reproduction. So I see that our population is going to continue to grow because we're in a very high fertility rate area as far as the females, as well as the age. So our population is going to continue to grow. And I'm excited about that. So in comparison to population, so when you're seeing sister cities like Douglasville, you're seeing we're almost tripling their count. We're pretty large, and I think it's not just because our zoning allows for it to be highly residential, but our land mass is extremely high. We have a very large size land. We're primarily about, I say about 70, kind of in the high 70s, near 80s for, I'm sorry. Okay, between 70 to 80% of it being zoned for residential. So that 96 is strongly geared towards that number. So racial composition, as you're seeing, we are a very strongly based African-American Black community, very much different in the region as you're seeing. It's more diverse in the Twin County region, but the city of South Fulton is primarily African-American / Black. That is a very unique component to have, as South Fulton is the home of a much larger portion of Black residents than any area in Metro Atlanta. So that's something that we hold a recognition in. Housing types. We are primarily, very strongly, primarily inside of a 1-unit detached, which is where you're finding the single family detached units that you'll find in a subdivision. We have very little multifamily units here in the city. We're primarily a single family dwelling opportunity here, which is very unique, very much unique. And amongst that, those homes are primarily owned here in South Fulton. We rent very little here. We have very little, as I showed you before on the last slide, we have very little multifamily opportunities, but even when we have the single family, some of those homes are being rented, but still allows for us to have a large majority of our homes to still be owner occupied. The region, of course, is almost close to being half and half. So we're very much different than the region. I'm pretty proud to say that we've been able to maintain that. Housing age. This is a very interesting slide here. As you're seeing, majority of our housing was built in 2000 to 2009. And so you're seeing that primarily between 2000 and 2009, as you may know, the warehousing opportunities came about very heavily in the region or surrounding areas. as there were a vast amount of jobs being proposed or being put into place, housing was necessary. And the city of South Fulton was one of few areas that had that land available. So with that, we were able to allow for housing to come to meet those regional working components so that they can have somewhere to call home. And city of South Fulton, of course, it was unincorporated at the time, but pridefully now as the city of South Fulton, we were able to have those homes in our jurisdiction. So one component that was noted by one of my teammates today, which I think is very important to note tonight, is that we will have a very strong, large population of our housing age at the same time, which tells me that we're going to need to ensure that our regulations, our building requirements, and anything dealing with materials, the standard of inspections, all of those things are going to need to ensure that they're very strong to ensure that this large component of housing of 15,000 plus is going to be able to stand the times of growth. So traffic flow, we have about 14, almost basically 15,000 individuals who commute to South Fulton, all due to jobs. It's important to know that this is a 2018 statistic. You all may know that the city of South Fulton has recently annexed the large majority of unincorporated Fulton County into our boundaries with the all the way up to the center line of I-20, which means all of those warehousing and all of those jobs are now in the city of South Fulton. So that changed in 2021. So this statistic of 2018 will change once the census information is included to tell you that there's more individuals commuting to the city of South Fulton. There's about 1,400 individuals who live and work in South Fulton. I'm proud to say that I fall in that category as someone who lives and works in the city of South Fulton. We have about 41,000 residents who leave to go work somewhere else, whether that be somewhere nearby or further in the region. We're hoping that with this new land that we have with Fulton Industrial, maybe that'll give an opportunity for some of those residents to come back into the city and work in some of those areas if that is an opportunity for them to have, so that we can retain some of those residents. So I want to have a warehouse conversation with you all. I only want to make sure we have this so that you all can understand where we are when it pertains to warehouses. So since cityhood, we've only permitted the new construction of 5 warehouses. Inside of those particular warehouses, they fell within the districts of District 1, 5, and 7. They were all previously zoned, which means they did not have to have a zoning change request. Council has not gone to that extent, to my knowledge, of making that change. So with that, I say we've only had 5 warehouses constructed since we became a city. However, you're seeing a lot of warehousing being constructed, and you're probably saying, but no, I know that I've seen some warehouses being constructed on South Fulton Parkway. I am often at the Publix and I'm seeing there being construction taking place. So I'm traveling along Stonewall Hill. Well, that's all within the city boundaries of Union City. You may be along North Commerce and seeing some warehouses constructing there, and that's going to be the city of East Point. So all of the warehousing you're seeing in the city of South Fulton are going to already be within the zoned warehouse districts of District 1, 5, and 7. Okay, so what are our next steps? We're going to update the components that I showed you that were required, which are the needs and opportunities, the land use element, the broadband element. We're going to also update the community work program. Again, that nice 5-year to-do list is going to be updated. And again, I want you to focus on that so that you can see the programs that we're going to put into place and where your budgeted dollars are going to go towards. How do we bring this program forward? So the first round, of course, we met with you all back in May and had conversations and heard from you to say, you know, this is what we're doing and how are you thinking we're doing and what direction do you want us to go in? Where do you want us to be in the next 20 years? Then tonight, which is the second component, we're in fact having conversations with you now to where when you have your comments heard, when we hear your comments, of course, we'll give a response back to allow for there to be further input provided tonight. The next step will be the plan preparation, where they're going to start gearing up for next month, planning to prepare the document so that it can be presented over to the steering committee for their review. And then once their steering committee reviews it in late July, it's going to be a presentation provided over to council that shows the file that the steering committee and staff has reviewed and said it's ready to go for consideration. Once council gives us the blessing to move the file over to the state, we'll then present it over to the ARC and DCA for their review. That review period could take anywhere between 30 to 60 days. Sometimes it's a lot shorter. The ARC is helping us draft this file, so it may be shorter because it's coming directly from them. So the review cycle may be shorter there. And then lastly, of course, that October 31st deadline, we'll present that back out to council. So that's pretty much the process. As I noted, we're hearing more from you in this month so that we can have more information to share back while we're drafting the plan in July. So once, of course, that's completed for July, we'll just move it forward as scheduled and shown. Again, once we're completing the presentation for tonight, I strongly encourage and request and ask for you to participate in our website that's going to further public engagement. Again, that site is publicinput.com/2021 SF Comp Plan. That will be an opportunity for you to further your input, give more information, and allow for you to be able to have your voices heard. Because again, this is a partnership between the city and its stakeholders. And I want to make sure your voices are heard. So again, please participate. Again, I'm Shayla Reed. I'm the Director for Community Development and Regulatory Affairs. My direct line is 470-809-7236. Should you have any questions, want to talk to me directly and just kind of get more information, I'm open for that. So please feel free to give me a direct call. Again, there's the website again for future input. I'm going to take a second because I said I was going to remind you all to go to the link, and I apologize, but for your questions, I see a lot of comments are coming in the chat box. But in addition, if you wish to send your email to planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov, we'll allow for that to be a pause for you to go ahead and draft that email out to us so that we can have your comments heard tonight. We can start first team with the comments in the chat box, and then we can later check the emails to allow for more individuals to send email if they wish to do that. So we'll go on into the questions and answers.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm reading some questions and comments from the chat box. And one of the questions, which was answered by planning staff, is there a revision or update cycle within the 5-year cycle? And the answer to that was the city can update its comp plan at any time, but the state DCA requires it at minimum every 5 years. Mm-hmm. Will this presentation be available on the City of South Fulton website? And the link was provided inside the chat. There was a question, where does improved school performance fit? I'm concerned that home values are $300,000, $400,000, and $500,000, and the schools are underperforming.
So one of the things that I can note there is that we have created a very strong relationship with Fulton County Schools. And so, of course, they will be invited to have those discussions so that they can hear about some of your concerns. Of course, as you know, a school system is just like any other government. Of course, they have the powers to make decisions, but we're always inviting them to the discussions, and they're usually always ready to respond. So most definitely, I'll ensure that they're a part of this discussion before adoption.
Okay. Does the city have jurisdiction over the land use for new schools being built in the city of South Fulton?
So the interesting thing is when you're seeing a rezoning for residential, one of the things that oftentimes you aren't seeing because it's usually a staff, action by staff. We draft a staff report and we're including whether or not Fulton County had a question or concern relative to the rezoning. So if a rezoning is proposing to have 200 additional housing, the school system is being made aware that prior to council's decision. Once council makes a decision, what usually happens after that, they reach out to us and ask us for more details regarding the project so that they can begin to plan for it. So because every government has the ability to rezone, and it can be a bit, governments can move a lot faster sometimes than the school system can keep up. it's oftentimes that they just receive the reports and they just plan or have visions. Just like we have planners, urban planners here at the city of South Fulton, the school system too has urban planners, and that's what they're doing. They're outlining where the next school can go, to what capacity should it have as far as seats for students, et cetera. So they are at the table when we're talking about rezoning and proposing for new residential.
Okay, another comment. This is important for a Zoom meeting. Too many people input is left out, especially our seniors and people who are not computer savvy.
Okay. So I guess as we transition back to being in person, you are absolutely correct. Before these times, we were always in person, but I will definitely take that under consideration to figure out how we can provide more information out to the public as it pertains to this, because we definitely want to hear from everyone. So thank you for that input.
A question was asked, can you cite the source of the data? And the question was answered, the source of the data is at the bottom of each slide.
Gotcha.
We have a statement, we need a hospital.
Okay.
And there were a couple of people who agreed with that. Okay. We have Ms. Rowell said the location of hospital is governed by the state certificate of need process. Representative Roger Bruce and I will hold a town hall on July 21st at 6 p.m. to explain the process.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
We have a question. Have any air quality and pollution studies been conducted since the influx of warehouses?
So again, those warehouses are with South Fulton. Excuse me, I said it incorrect, I apologize, are not with South Fulton, they're with other cities. So I would hope that those other cities are in fact doing studies and ensuring that the air qualities are not causing detriment to the surrounding areas. So I can tell you, we require such studies when there's large, vast amount of development taking place. But again, that would have to be those municipalities who are in fact allowing those uses to take place.
Also, have there been discussions about repurposing the vacant warehouses on Fulton Industrial Boulevard?
South Fulton has just taken on Fulton Industrial Boulevard. We are excited to say that our comprehensive plan is starting those discussions now. We have not come to that full thought and finalization, but I'm sure once the comprehensive plan is being considered, and of course our great council then comes up with plans and visions and directions, hearing from you all, we'll definitely have a plan coming forward.
All right, I have a statement. We definitely need higher education jobs, office buildings, corporations on the south side.
Okay.
Ms. Rao has given information. The average job on Fulton Industrial is over $50,000 a year.
Okay.
Again, let me clarify. We need businesses and corporations that hire college graduates, higher level education degree holders, etc., like Google, NCR, healthcare corporations, financial businesses, etc.
Okay.
We have a question. At what point will the land use map be updated, and how will the public be able to provide input?
Awesome. So we are currently in that phase now where if you're, of course, going to that link that I sent to you, we're having those conversations now as we're looking at what the future land use looks like, what does that opportunity of land looks like. So again, if you can participate on that link, you'll be able to weigh in as far as when do you have a chance to see it. Again, all of this is happening very, very much in front of you. So in addition to the website, once it's being drafted, of course, again, your representatives, which are the steering committee, they're going to more than likely see it first. Once they weigh in and give some thoughts and their visions on it, then we'll present it out for public comments, of course, to where once it's presented to council, you get to weigh in on your thoughts as well. And that's prior to it going over to the state for review and approval by the state.
Okay. Someone provided a comment that overview was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
With HOAs aging, will the city provide financial assistance in any way to ensure these communities don't go into despair?
So I can't answer that, of course. I'm not the city financial keeper, so I cannot state that, but that is definitely a question that I can make note to, and we can see how we can provide a response back to you.
We are homeowners in South Fulton. Our mortgage has increased $100 within 1 year due to property taxes. It is expected for property taxes to increase due to new developments.
I'm sorry, that was a question.
Is it expected for property taxes to increase due to new developments?
So unfortunately, again, I can't give that answer. I'm not certain of that. That would be a discussion that would have to involve the tax assessor's value of land, our tax team that we have here for property taxes to weigh in and give those projections, and then our finance team, of course, weighing in as well to see what that looks like to present something back to council. So unfortunately, I don't have that information, but of course, if whoever asks that question, if you can submit that type of question, submit your name and your email address into the chat box, I can figure out a way I can provide a response back to you on that, or at least a contact at the city who can give you a better answer than me.
Does the city anticipate a designated area within the city of South Fulton as a live, work, and place neighborhood?
Great question. So I'm sure all of the elected officials who are on this call, or even some of the staff members who are on the call, are excited about that question because, in fact, we have adopted our economic development plan that identifies some of the nodes that will be identified for mixed use. We have some very strong areas that will be identified for mixed use and allow for the city to put its primary live, work, and play areas in those locations. So again, I strongly encourage you to go on our website to our economic development page and find that plan so that you can see where those nodes are. So they're pretty impressive. It's a pretty impressive plan.
We have a comment. We'd like to see Publix, Boys and Girls Club Center, and senior centers.
Okay.
Question, what are the tax shelters or financial benefits for warehouses in the city of South Fulton?
So unfortunately, I don't have the economic development information before me, but I can tell you that there's various different incentives that are identified on our website. I do know we have the franchise fee that is an opportunity that allows for them to move forward on that side on the economic development team. So that there's other incentives that our director, who has worked extremely hard to attract different businesses as well as retain them. So again, that's on our website. I'm not the expert in that discussion. He is. Unfortunately, I'm not able to give you that answer, but I guarantee you once you're on the website, you'll see what those incentives are. And he's also furthering those as we go.
Okay, this is a question. It was answered. Is the Amazon warehouse on Campbellton and FIB in other cities? Ms. Rao answered, the Amazon warehouse on Campbellton and FIB is in the city of South Fulton.
Yes.
Question, what are the city's plans for parks and recs and the disabled population?
So we're currently doing a plan now for our Parks and Recs program. It's currently being drafted. So just as you're having your input included here, they're going to open it up to the public to weigh in. And again, if you go to our website and sign up to be notified for different community opportunities, whether it be meetings or programs, if you sign up at our website, you'll be able to receive notifications once that program starts up. But they are in fact working on that plan.
Okay, we have a question. If appropriate, can you provide information on the Wolf Creek Amphitheater?
I am not able to. I'm not at that table. I apologize. I'm most definitely not able to give any information on that.
Councilwoman Gilliard provides information. No air pollution studies are being conducted by Union City and none by the city of South Fulton where the warehouses are close to District 4. This should happen and I'm committed to making sure our city has it.
Okay, thank you.
Question, what enforcement actions will take place regarding tractor trailer trucks traveling on our residential streets like Old Fairburn?
So we have a ordinance now in place that has restrictions for our residential roads for there to be heavy vehicles. So when you're saying tractor trailers, I'm assuming you're speaking of the 18-wheelers. And if that is the case, then in fact, they are in violation. And so our police department will cite them if they're found to be driving on our roads. The purpose of that ordinance is to protect our roads from the wear and tear that is being caused by the heavy duty vehicles.
Okay, we have a statement. We need more sidewalks, additional walking trails that connect to neighborhoods, a public place for children to hang out, parentheses, public swimming pool, ATV/dirt bike facility for children to ride on instead of public streets, outreach programs for children, more career and job placement programs.
Got it. For the trails, stay tuned. Much is coming.
Okay, I'm going to read from the planning email. Proposed parks should be located closer to single-family residential areas. Located on Fulton Industrial Boulevard could be dangerous and problematic for children with the high 18-wheeler traffic on FIV. Please include new roadway and sidewalk constructions with developer approvals to build this city. This is much needed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a comment. It would take more than a town hall meeting with representatives Roger Bruce in order to receive a certificate of need. It's very political. You must know more than state legislators. Okay. Ms. Rao provided information. The city of South Fulton is in negotiation with the Fulton County about the acquisition of Wolf Creek Amphitheater, but it is still under the county.
Thank you.
All right. If Amazon is in city of South Fulton, was an air traffic study done? This is a very busy intersection, and yet doesn't appear any studies were done to alleviate additional traffic.
So the county is sharing their files with us for anything for Fulton Industrial Boulevard that was from the time of 2017 to date. So any of those records that are new construction, we are working with the county to understand what they've done during those times of construction. So I'm not to say that they did or didn't. It's just that I'm not able to say that they did or did not. We'll have more information once those files are transitioned over.
Okay, I have a question from the planning email. Is there any prediction as to land usage? What is the mechanism for linkage to other surrounding communities?
The linkage. I'm sorry, I'm a little confused on that question. Read it for me again.
What is the mechanism for linkage to other surrounding communities?
So if you're speaking about the roads, I can say when it comes to being a commuter city, as I mentioned to you before, allowing for us to expand our road quality, as well as ensuring that we have road connectivities where needed. So if there aren't roads, of course, we're proposing to figure out where their needs of roads are. We're ensuring that we're partnering with other areas, like you'll find that South Fulton will partner with Douglas County in some of the northern portions for Highway 92. For some of the road expansions when development begins to take place in that area. So that's just an example of how we're ensuring that connections from one municipality to the next are made. And we usually do that through GDOT, which is Georgia Department of Transportation. If it's a state highway, which most of our roads are, you'll find that we're having conversations with them to figure out how they can expand their roads, which of course the city of South Fulton can expand their roads that they have jurisdiction over. So once they in fact expand their roads, we're able to further have that linkage that you're mentioning from one municipality to the next. That's a partnership that GDOT and South Fulton has developed, and we're planning to keep that relationship strong and going.
Land use should be included and malleable, for instance, hospital.
Okay.
T5 of age has a direct impact on occupational opportunity. What are the distinguishable characteristics between differing uses?
I'm sorry, Dana, I'm not following that question. Okay. State it one more time for me, please. I'm struggling. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let me see if I can get that back up. I'm gonna go to a different one real quick and then bring that back up.
Okay.
We have a constituent that is working with a group of community members in District 2, and they're trying to raise awareness to get people involved in these decisions. And they're asking the community to go to southfultonzoning.com.
Okay.
Is there a way to legally limit the amount of absentee corporations and LLCs from purchasing single-family homes and using them solely for the purpose of renting them to a succession of different renters? In essence, can zoning laws be created to limit the amount of single-family residential homes that are being solely for commercial purposes?
All right, so I think that person's been attending our council meetings. Of course, we cannot control the purchase of land, right? So I can't say that the city can say that two property owners can't sell and purchase amongst each other. So no, we can't do that. However, once those transactions take place, yes, the city can in fact put certain regulations in place to halt or stop certain activities where legally sound. So the city of South Fulton has in fact put a moratorium on such uses for extreme rentals where a subdivision is being utilized for 100% rental. You can find that on our website. That, of course, that moratorium is being put in place until we can further discuss or determine how we're going to regulate that. So that means that if someone comes into the door today and they're looking to develop a residential development that has a strong primary rental opportunity for single family, they're not allowed to move forward. So I can tell you, just so you all can rest assured, I've recently had a conversation with someone who's asked that question, who was looking to bring a development in, and I informed them that they could not do it. So council's actions have halted that.
Okay, I'm going back to the other question that I left. What are the distinguishable characteristics between differing uses? So I'm assuming you're saying when it comes to your zoning classification, what makes one classification different than the other? So of course, you know, residential is very simply said, that's where you're going to have where your residents are going to sleep. Of course, commercial, which is going to be anything that allows for there to be retail or some level of, I guess, purchases or anything that allows for customers to come in and out. Industrial is going to be your large warehouses that allows for there to be customers that could be not necessarily coming into the building, but allowing for there to be transport within the 18 wheelers, as I'm mentioning, for the sake of there being a product traveling out for such commerce. So the distinctions are very, very, very much so obvious, but the only way that it becomes challenging is the residential side. So what makes it R1 versus R6? Of course, R1, you're going to see a home on a larger lot that's not going to be as closely together. But in R6, you're going to see the smaller homes on the smaller lots closer together. So that determines how the developer is seeing fit for the development to take place. So that's how we're determining the residential side for the uses. Okay, I'm going to the planning email address. How is the city working with businesses in the newly annexed area to ensure a smooth transition?
Great question. So staff, we are in the process of scheduling a conversation with property owners. One, to inform them of the annexation. Believe it or not, a lot of businesses are not aware that they're in the city of South Fulton. I can tell you that me as a resident myself, it was interesting how some people, they didn't know they were in the city of South Fulton until a year or two passed. So what I want to do for these businesses is to make sure that's not taking place with them. Of course, they have to renew their business license, so it will be a time for them to have the update sooner than we would necessarily as residents, but we want to ensure a great, welcoming, inviting opportunity for these businesses to further their chances of remaining here with City of South Fulton, basically retaining these businesses. So we're inviting them out very soon for a meeting, basically a welcoming meeting with a welcoming package of, you know, here's what we do here in South Fulton. Here are our rules and regulations, and providing contacts for all of the different all the different departments so that they can know who to go to directly. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that meeting.
Who is leading those efforts to ensure the businesses aren't disrupted during this time of transition?
So I can't really say that it's one collective group. But it's the city as a whole, as far as we're ensuring, just so that you know, that if the business license was granted over at Fulton County, we're continuing to allow for us to honor that. That's one thing that we're doing. So that allows them to continue their business. We haven't halted that as of yet. However, those renewals will come about at the end of the year as notification for there to be a 2022 deadline. That's when they'll then apply for a City of South Fulton business license. So we're allowing them to not have any hiccups in their transition. So literally they went to sleep one night as a business within the unincorporated boundaries of Fulton County and woke up in the great city of South Fulton the very next morning. So they did not feel anything different, same operation, same flow of work.
Okay, I've seen Invest ATL flyers along Campbellton Road. Are there any additional programs or incentives to bring companies or resources to South Fulton to help with job opportunities, give the area a facelift, and help eradicate the negative stigma of working or living in the area?
So again, that's what our comprehensive plan is speaking about. It's speaking about what those things are that we're missing and how we're going to put those things in place. So again, encouraging you to go to that link and include those type of comments to say what's necessary and needed so that we can in fact put those things in place if we don't have them. I do know, again, my economic development counterpart would be primary in knowing a lot of those resources and its availabilities. But again, if you send that information over to the link, that gives us the marching orders to look into seeing how we can incorporate that moving forward.
This is a FYI information provided. Tax amounts are, period, asked upon the value of your home and rate. The largest amount you pay is your school tax, not your city property tax. What are the city's plans for park and rec? Oh, this was asked already. What is allowed use in CUP? Who approves plans? What is public input incorporated? How is public input incorporated?
So CUP, community unit plan, is going to be something that allows for the developer to partner with the city to say how, in fact, they're looking to develop this land. And it's usually for the large tracts of land, right? So in order for you to have CUP, it's going to be the larger scale developments. The way that it works is that staff works with them to see how they're looking to strategize or develop the land. We, as far as staff, which would be your engineer, your city planners, your fire marshal, we all sit and have a discussion with the particular developer, determine what they're looking to have and does it meet codes, what concerns we may have. If traffic is a concern, we require for there to be additional roads. If environment is an issue, of course, we include those components as well. So we have the CUP component is a little bit more stretched out than would be a regular rezoning. We allow for there to be a discussion where we are able to see the full concept of the land because you're developing it from scratch. Very much different than land that would be previously zoned to have another use that you're just trying to convert. So how could residents play a part in it? One of the things that I want to say to residents tonight, oftentimes we're seeing a strong participation inside of the planning discussion for mayor and council meetings, but that's not where the actual discussions start. Those discussions are starting at the planning commission meetings. So that information, of course, is notified just the same way it's on our website for council meetings. It's also for the planning commission located there as well. So if you're participating in the planning commission meeting and you're weighing your options and looking at what's being presented before you at the planning commission meeting, that's given enough time for it to be an opportunity for council to receive it secondly. Because oftentimes we're hearing for the first time of a concern or you're not seeing it for the first time until mayor and council, but it actually has been presented to the public prior to that a month before. So again, I strongly encourage you all to participate in our planning commission meetings.
Councilman Rowell has provided information about incentives, which include the TAD, TAD, and duty-free, etc.
Got it. Thank
Question,
you.
how much does the Union City warehouse / commercial activity on South Fulton Parkway hinder / limit how we plan for the city of South Fulton areas of the Parkway, particularly within the Cedar Grove community?
All right.
Okay. Okay, so that's a big question. I can't really speak on how it hinders. I can tell you that when it comes to warehousing, the city of South Fulton has made a very strong, we've been very vocal about not being supportive of warehousing, particularly near our subdivision areas. I can tell you that our council has been very vocal about it, has had conversations with surrounding cities asking, and I say council, but I mean elected officials as a whole, have had conversations with the surrounding communities, asking them to consider our residents. Of course, as every municipality has their own rights and powers to do and zone and develop their land, of course, they can decide to move forward in the actions and directions that they wish. The way we have responded to that, which I'm pretty proud of the zoning ordinance for that, the zoning ordinance now has a new requirement that we just put into place in December that says that if a property is immediately adjacent to a surrounding one of our sister cities, let's just say it's residentially zoned, if it's immediately adjacent to that sister city, there's a buffer requirement put in place for our particular piece of property, which means that these additional trees will be put into, and these are rows of trees by footage, which will probably be about 100 feet. So I don't know that it's exactly 100 feet, but I know there's a buffer put in place that will protect us from, in fact, sound, noise, smell of any surrounding city's construction of a warehouse, if you're zoned residential, for the new developments that have come after December 2020.
Great. What are the plans to replace the crumbling bridge on Butner Road and Camp Creek?
So again, if you send me maybe your email address in the comments, we can give you a response on that, because that would be my counterpart in transportation that would have that answer.
Okay, this was an FYI. Your property taxes do not rise because more homes are being built. And Ms. Rao provided information. There is funding allocated to replace a number of aging bridges.
Thank you for that.
This was a question from YouTube. The BP gas station at the corner of Campbellton, Fulton Industrial is still struggling to open. Is there any update to share? What is the latest holdup to him getting his CO?
So I know that that particular development has gone through its course with the city, which means construction-wise, permitting-wise, they've met those requirements. I do know that there was an additional requirement that was required under review of Fulton County when it comes to sewer. I don't know the status after that, which means I don't know if they've completed that particular piece to move on. I just do know that they had to go to an outside municipality to receive that particular inclusion for that site. And that was in fact a hiccup that was caused for that business to open. But I do know there has been recent discussion where we have, I guess, made comments that we need to reach out to him just to see, or them to see what in fact the holdup is. So hopefully we'll see it to open soon.
Okay, we have a question. Is District 4 the only one without a recreation center or any kind of indoor space for community gatherings? Is this something we can address in the new land use plan? So
I'm not certain of answering if in fact it's the only place that doesn't have. I know that there's a park located there. I think 2 parks, if I'm not mistaken. But with that being said, should you desire for there to be more? Of course, this is in fact the discussion. We take note of that. All comments that you're having tonight, we are in fact taking note of that, and we're including and giving that over to the drafter of this document. So that'll be a component that we can add to the list to say that there is a desire for more parks and indoor recreational options.
Okay. In the future, can you all provide the links to the website / contacts that have the information to some of the questions like land usage, hospital planning, etc.? What are the benefits of dedicating a new private community to the city of South Fulton?
So one of the things that I often like to see as far as a dedication is a fire station. If a developer comes in the door who knows that it'll be a large mixed-use development, what typically happens is that for that mixed-use development, they're going to offer at least 1 of 2 things, if not 3. They're going to more than likely offer a fire station. They may even offer a police precinct. They may even offer a parks and recs option for the city to take on or be transferred over to the city. So it just depends on the development, as well as the developer who wants to partner and be a part of the municipality partnership. So we have often heard that, as a request. And so with that, once we hear that here in South Fulton, we'll be really excited to take that on as an opportunity for us.
And where can we find more information about the dedication process?
So there is not an outlined, process. It's more so just once the developer decides to dedicate this parcel or this portion of land, the city then takes on an opportunity of resolution to accept it. So that's done, of course, by vote, and allows for council to say they accept this fire station, the land for this fire station, and move forward in that direction. But it's not necessarily outlined as a process that's written.
With the Camp Creek marketplace being so congested and quite frustrating to navigate, are there plans to provide more venue options for residents to enjoy outings like movies, outdoor hiking, biking, trails, dining, and extracurricular activities?
So the Camp Creek marketplace, as you know, is not in our city limits, but Camp Creek itself, on the northern end near Fulton Industrial is. We've had many conversations about mixed-use developments that want to bring about those components, as well as in the Fulton Industrial area that's further down within the District 2 area. So yes, those are conversations that we're currently having. Very confident to say that before our next 5-year update, we're going to have large developments that will bring about that entertainment that you're looking for, those venues of restaurants and commercial opportunities for your family to enjoy. So all those talks are starting now. So we're excited about that.
FYI from Councilwoman Gilliard, the comp plan should include neighborhood plans that could be based on each district, because each district will probably not have the same land use. And a question, how is the city going to make sure that the plan includes that level of detail and has strategy for the vision?
Okay, so it goes back to the community work program that I mentioned. So when you give me that type of concern or question or desire, again, it goes back into us evaluating to see how that works, condensing it down to allow for there to be, actions included, which goes into that short-term work program. So that's how we, in fact, ensure that it's located inside of that document. So we hear from you, we put it inside as an action, and then we give a 5-year deadline to get it done.
Great. Councilwoman Rao asks for you to provide information based on our current zoning map. Explain where warehouses are limited. There is a belief that they can be placed anywhere in our city, which is false.
Got it. Good question or good statement. So here's the interesting thing about the city of South Fulton. So we are, again, about 80% zone residential. We have probably about 10 to 15 within commercial / office. We have these are stats before Fulton Industrial. So we had a very small caliber of land that was dedicated for industrial, which would have been some of the Fulton Industrial piece that was in our city limits, Buffington Road, as well as Roosevelt Highway. We had some very few pieces or very small pieces along Roosevelt Highway that was closer towards College Park / East Point End that was zoned industrial. So with that, we didn't have any areas that were going to be zoned for industrial. I don't believe council even had the appetite of bringing that many or to bring in new industrial developments. Now that we have Fulton Industrial Boulevard in play in a part of our city, we have now a location where we can designate such. So if someone comes in and wants to rezone a residentially slabbed land or commercial slab land into residential that's not comparable to what's around it, we have a location that we can in fact say that you're relocating to, and that would be Fulton Industrial Boulevard. It would not be anywhere that's so intrusive upon residential areas. Now, I will say you currently have warehousing in some areas that may be near residential. So it's not uncommon that if it's already there to allow for it to grow further. But to put warehousing directly near residential, that's not the appetite that South Fulton has.
Okay, I have a statement from the planning email address. Old National Sidewalks Phase 2 and maintenance agreements with Jacobs for maintaining Old National and our sidewalks on Old National in the city limits. Thank you. Number 2, set up a business HOA for all businesses along Old National that have a front entrance, making sure they cut monthly, pick up litter weekly. Every lot on Old National needs beautification guidelines. Another one from the planning email. I recently read that the annexation will bring about $9 million in additional tax revenue. What are the additional funds from annexation going forward?
So we are currently in the budget phase right now, drafting our budget. We, of course, have not received that funding as of yet. Whatever that funding amount is being, I'm not confirming the amount that was said to be the actual amount. I just know that we haven't received that amount yet. As you know, we've only had them for a little bit under a month. So the budget discussions will kind of pertain to that. That's the awesome part about having an annual budget. You can look at what the needs are now to project what the needs will be moving forward. And so those discussions will be more than likely starting to happen very soon. So today would not be a day I could give an answer on that. Of course, I more than likely wouldn't be the person giving the answer. But it would, in fact, give us an opportunity now to start that discussion. So just stay tuned. I'm sure those discussions will be had at council meetings.
Okay, this will go back to the certificate statement made. It will take the right leadership working with state and medical powers to be in order to receive a certificate of need. It's important for people to understand the real process. Councilwoman Gilliard states the plan should also include natural resources, economic development, housing and transportation, steep slopes, floodplains, wetlands, and preservation of agricultural and forestry, utilities, sewer, water, roads, etc. How will this occur in terms of the way the comp plan is being rolled out for revision?
Okay, so as mentioned, there's 4 components that we must have as identified what those 4 components were in regards to goals and opportunities, needs and such. And then there was an additional component where you saw housing, transportation, and things of that nature. So your past 2026 document did include all of those components. So we'll need to look into seeing how we can further those discussions being had from the ARC. It's very important to know that the ARC is doing this document for free. And that's because we are a part of their regional responsibilities. So they're doing it for free for us. However, again, as I noted, whatever components that may not be added, that may need to be suited, we can in fact edit those files in the upcoming years. But I'm almost confident that we will have most, if not all of those components considered or discussed in the actual comp plan update.
Okay, we have a question. Is it within the city's purview to assist with the power issues experienced in South Fulton? It seems as though there are frequent instances of outages compared to other areas in Fulton County.
I don't believe I have the ability to answer that one as well. When it comes to power, that would be something a little bit large scale for Public Works to kind of talk about their partnership with the various different agencies that are out there, like Georgia Power and Greystone. So those would be conversations that are bigger than I could, scale down to. But I would most definitely, if you, again, anytime you're putting your email into the box and asking a question, I will provide a response back, or again, the contact person who can give you that information.
Our planner, Nathan, has provided information. Warehouses and industrial development can only be built in M1 and M2, which are industrial zonings, zoned areas in the city.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Nathan.
We have a comment. There is 1 movie, 1 roller rink, 2 bowling alleys. Councilwoman Gilliard, has the city looked at the current plan to determine where our deficiencies are in terms of single family, commercial, and standalone housing on streets? How will these deficiencies be shared with the public and addressed?
So I'm assuming the question is, are we looking at the future land use map itself? Are we looking at, I guess, the conditions of roads? Of course, those are the things that are being used when we're looking at the vision we're having for the future land use. Of course, roads are a part of that. That's why there's a transportation component in the discussion. We have a meeting scheduled with all of the various different departments to allow for us to have, I guess, a moment of just revisiting and revamping the actual future land use and giving our proposed ideas and thoughts from what we've seen in the seats that we hold, where the needs are for change. And so that would be something that Public Works will definitely weigh in to give their responses back to say whether or not transportation components are needed for increase in those areas. So thank you for that question, Councilwoman. Of course, once that is drafted and presented, it goes back to, again, as I mentioned, the drafting of the final, or the first draft is going over to the steering committee for their weighing in. And again, that steering committee is the first review of residents and stakeholders to give us their comments and thoughts, and then it moves over to mayor and council, of course, for their adoption after it's been approved by the state.
Unfortunately, littering is a problem in our community. I believe Camp Creek is a state road, so what jurisdiction is responsible for keeping it clean? Is there a plan to promote a litter-free community? What can residents do to help combat the problem?
So, of course, nothing stops anyone from creating a program and volunteering together to clean a community. I don't think when there's a state route within the right-of-ways, I don't think anyone's been accused of trespassing in the right-of-way. So if the community wishes, to gather a group together so that they can go out and partner and clean, I can tell you, I identify that a lot in District 1. There's a lot of partnership amongst residents that I've seen where they get out and go together to clean up the right-of-ways of areas. The city of South Fulton, of course, we don't have jurisdiction over Camp Creek. As you know, that's a state route. And so they're, of course, responsible for cleaning it, but there are opportunities where residents may say, hey, let's get together and get some trash bags and go clean this area up. And nothing's prohibiting that, if that would be the case. If that's in fact what you're asking, if you can start a partnership and a program for cleanup, I think that's an excellent idea.
And Catherine, Councilwoman Rao has added, we recently launched a Keep South Fulton campaign. She encourages everyone to visit the website because they are looking for groups to help adopt a road to complement the cleanup effort launched by the city. So that's great. What are plans in place to attract sit-down family restaurants to our city?
So again, going back to the economic development plan, I think it's going to be something that's really great for you all to see as residents. Our economic development director has spent a lot of time with a company called BAE, and they visited the city in different areas. We identified, which I love the fact that he partnered with the planning and zoning team, where we sat down and identified areas where there's been conversations from property owners who are wishing to put such uses, such as fine dine options in their developments. And so there's been some conversations that property owners are looking to enhance certain areas. I can tell you Camp Creek is one of the areas that they're looking at. Some of the portions on Fulton Industrial closer towards 166. There's been just many conversations being had about how we can further advance areas. As you know, Old National is an area that we're looking to further advance. Of course, Cascade is as well. So our economic development team, when it comes to that document, as well as the incentives they're putting in place, I can definitely say that very soon we'll have some of those attentions being brought to us, because we're at the table. When I say we, staff, we're at the table with property owners who have shared their desires for such opportunities for the city. So much is coming. Of course, we're not there today, but I believe definitely soon we will be.
Councilwoman Gilliard provided information. There are no parks in District 7.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
We have a statement. Thank you, Shayla, Dana, and the entire team for bringing order, structure, and consistency to the planning and zoning space. Your efforts are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
We have a statement here. Our family picks up bags of trash on our property and street daily that others have thrown. That's great. Councilwoman Gilliard, for the past year, Cedar Grove has had the same problem. It never happened up to then. I wonder what changed.
Mm.
All right, we have a statement. I would like to see high-tech companies, medical and business complexes 5-star hotel shopping areas, grocery stores in the parts of the city where needed. All these things have to be done with the people. You cannot run a city without the people. We cannot wait on a developer or the city again without the people. We have a question. What type of new development is scheduled for Old National Highway?
So there's of course conversation for revitalizing that area. As you know, I believe the councilwoman just mentioned that there's a TAD. That's one particular area that the TAD is identifying. Of course, that's going to be a tax incentive to allow for there to be, freezing of taxes, to allow for there to be further opportunities for redevelopment. And so I can tell you with the great things that I'm seeing that College Park is doing on the face of Old National is only going to trickle down, right? So it has to start there. You're seeing the demolition of those large structures that were once out there in College Park. That's only going to expand further down only going to further down Old National to allow for there to be new development, attraction of grander development taking place. I know now it may seem like we're just kind of talking and having a hope and dream, but that's how every great action takes place. It starts out with a hope and a dream and a vision put in place, which is what this comp plan is going to do for us, and identify areas where attention is needed. So again, Old National is going to be, as I like to call it, the new national at some point. So soon, just not now yet, but soon.
Councilwoman Rao has stated, yes, there are efforts underway to attract developers. I want to encourage residents to engage in the process with an open mind. If a developer is proposing a project and you like 80% of what is being proposed and not 20% you don't desire, please go to the negotiation table to see if you can find common ground to change the 20%.
That's a good point, Councilwoman. Thank you for that.
Do we have a mandate that every person that owns land have trash service? And if not, can this be done? Illegal dumping in the city is a big problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for that comment. So we do have an ordinance in place that requires for residents to have a trash service. So as you may or may not know, there's a requirement for us to have 3 municipal services to in fact be a city, and that's in fact one of the services that we in fact require for you to have trash service. Sure, at one point you have received letters from us stating whether you have or have not obtained that trash service. I definitely say, I hope you all can, hear me good, that very soon, if you don't have that trash service in place, citations will come. So make sure you signed up for trash services, because it is in fact a requirement for you as a resident to have a trash service. It's on our website. Again, I know you're probably like, oh gosh, everything's on the website, but that information is on our website for you to identify what those companies, are available for that service, because we in fact require it to be from a certain vendor.
So very sad that most of the littering is done by driving adults. Other than grocery stores, what other agricultural food services are being explored, such as farmers markets, and where?
So there's been some discussions about the need for farmers market. The past comprehensive plan mentions that the need for farmers market. I can tell you that our zoning ordinance allows for there to be expanded ag options. We believe that, of course, where there's food deserts, where there's opportunities where there's not many grocery stores for miles, that would be an opportunity for there to be I'm getting tongue-tied, for there to be a farmer's market. So with that being said, it just depends on the landowners. Do in fact the landowners want to transition their lands over to that? And just keep in mind for ag, ag is a little different. When I say ag, I'm speaking of agricultural land. Soil and things of that nature has to have a certain quality in order to be productive there. So you can't once been developed as a commercial location and expect to be successful for ag. Of course, you have to have some naturally undeveloped land to be, very successful with that. Not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying that's what's usually primary for ag land.
Okay, we have a statement. Littering everywhere, even on residential property, is a serious problem. We pick up bags of trash daily on our private property and street daily. How can mandatory fines be implemented at the local level?
Yes, so the interesting thing, you guys may not see it, but gosh, we as staff, we're going through the trash. When they're dumping this stuff, we're going through these trash bags. We're finding out what's in there. If it's identifying a person's name, if it's identifying where it came from, we are in fact finding you. We're working towards trying to figure out how to litter, how to address litter, how we can in fact put a stop to this because it is overwhelming. I go back to the comment that Councilwoman Hilliard just said. I too am a resident of Cedar Grove Road. She's absolutely correct. There's a lot of trash at times where individuals are just dropping trash along that road. And I don't understand what's going on, but the city council members have put money in the budget where we've put some cameras out. So they're not getting away with it necessarily because we have cameras in place that are monitoring some of these vehicles that are doing the dumping.
Statement. Okay, we see trash from people's homes every day. We also need tag readers and no litter signs to let them know they will be reported. This will help when they know the city is watching. Thank you, Councilwoman Rao.
Gotcha. So with that being said, going back to the tag readers, our council members have put money in the budget for that. We have, in fact, some hidden cameras that are out. So again, kudos to our council members for taking advantage of the opportunity to tackle the dumping that they've seen. So we've seen a reduction in that because some of the times those particular dumpers are starting to see that they're being cited in sanctions. So we're not seeing as strong as a dumping as we once had. Of course, it takes a large portion of individuals who are wanting to change their behavior before we can see a complete halt, but we're getting there.
Great. Councilman Rao says the problem with littering is you have to catch them in the act. We have to educate the public about the impact of litter and the perception it has on businesses trying to come to our city. She also states Campbellton Road, South Fulton Parkway, Camp Creek Parkway, and Fulton Industrial Boulevard are all state roads. The city is responsible for state routes per GDOT in city limits. Jacob's contract does not include state routes. See Public Works Director, Mr. Valenzuela. Thank you. What are the plans to increase Wi-Fi smart technology in South Fulton? As a community, we have an advantage to become a leader through implementation of technology. I really appreciate this forum and the opportunity to participate in the growth and future development of the city.
Great question. So as you saw in my presentation, we are updating that portion or creating that piece for the broadband. That was not a part of the past document requirements for 2016. That is something that the state has identified a need for. So it's now included as a new requirement for comprehensive plans. So that is something that we are looking to investigate further, how we can allow for such communication to continue. I can tell you that the city of South Fulton has even gotten ahead of that because we are in fact a smart city, and which is a designation to where we're trying to figure out different technologies and ways that we can further development and options to enjoy your particular piece of land, whether it be as a resident, whether it be as a building, as a business. Those options are available through our Smart City initiative.
Okay, as a new city, having a transfer of staff to the city was a real benefit. Thanks to Mrs. Reed and the team for making the transition so smooth. I'm excited about our future.
Thank you.
What steps are being taken to encourage college-educated residents or students to live in our city? How about getting a college to invest a campus in our city?
I like that idea. I can definitely tell you that there's been some conversations that's been had, but we can definitely add that in just as long as we have also done with the hospital, for higher learning as well as a component to say that we're looking to be the next designation for higher learning. We can do the same as we're trying to do with hospitals. So most definitely we'll add that in the comments. I can tell you, I believe Jared, who's drafting this document, he's listening to our conversation. So not to put too much pressure on you, Jared, but we have some needs and desires we want to see in this plan. So thank you for that comment.
Is there a plan to reach out to the developers to sponsor a community-wide Keep South Fulton Clean initiative and signage? I think we kind of spoke about that.
Mhm.
What is South Fulton expecting from the developers to give back to the community they are developing in?
So one thing I can tell you we expect from the developers, there's regulations in place. Of course, we expect there to be beautification. There are certain building requirements that we have in place. This is a very different community. I'm only telling you this because it's very different. I've worked in multiple municipalities, and this is the one municipality that has over 10 overlays. That's a little different, but what it tells me is that South Fulton cares about the appearance of its structures, of its areas that are going to be used, whether it be for residential, commercial, you name it. As you may know, that an overlay speaks highly on aesthetics, highly on beautification, how a development or structure is going to look. So most definitely, I can tell you that we're furthering and advancing the opportunity to make sure developers are in fact including a beautiful site. Again, the larger the development, sometimes they're dedicating land to us to allow for us to further our facilities as a city. And of course, we partner with these particular property owners, whether it be for cleanups, whether it be taking some trash bags and walking around, cleaning the community together. I can tell you that I've witnessed a recent cleanup where there's been property owners included inside of it as well. So this has been a very engaged community when it comes to what is being expected of businesses. So I apologize, but yeah, businesses. It's been very vocal. Well, I can't talk. Sorry, it's getting late. But it's been a very community-based, involved community here in South Fulton.
Okay, we have a question from the YouTube. How much in revenue are we projecting from the businesses on Fulton Industrial Boulevard?
So again, I answered that one. I don't have our tax assessor or our tax team on this call or our finance director. So I don't know the exact number. There has been some discussion about what that number could look like. But of course, I wouldn't mention that without being held to that. So I'll just say that once we have that information present, I'm sure it'll be available at some sort, whether it be through the tax assessor's webpage or whether it be the city when it comes to some of the things that we're putting out there about Fulton Industrial. But I necessarily do not have that information in front of me.
Councilwoman Rao states, I would love to attract a college campus. However, with the pandemic, it will likely change how they seek expansion since many over the last 18 months have been virtual. And she provided the link to the city's economic development plan, which is City of South Fulton, GA, basically the strategic plan. And she provided incentives, which is our city website with incentives in that website. And it is listed in the chat.
Thanks
I appreciate that so much, Mrs. Reed and Councilwoman Rao. Know as constituents and homeowners, we clean up trash daily. Northfield Boulevard is extremely bad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any plans to widen Campbellton Road going towards FIB? Do we have plans to put a traffic light at Stonewall Tell and Campbellton Road?
So forgive me as I'm not a part of our current T-SPLOS discussions, but I can tell you that we will be using that T-SPLOS discussion to place a lot of those particular projects inside of our short-term work program, as I mentioned, that 5-year report card piece. As you may know, of course, there's T-SPLOS monies that we use for the upgrade of roads, installation of sidewalks. And so I know that there's been discussions for some roads. I'm just not certain exactly what roads they are. We have had some recent council discussions regarding that subject. So I know that it's available online with our council packets on our council webpage. But other than that, I can't give a confirmation on where the roads are. But I do know that discussion is current, as late as the latest council meeting. I think there was a special call meeting that may have discussed those particular roads.
Okay, statement here. Working with communication companies to add small cells to lighting poles is a way to improve broadband.
Good point.
Councilwoman Gilliard states, District 4 is the one that desperately needs broadband. What
I
about
agree, Councilwoman. I can barely keep a phone call in District 4. So I agree with you on that. Yes, ma'am.
what about impact fees that developers should be responsible for to defray the cost for what citizens might have to pay for in the future should add streets and other infrastructure?
Thank you for that, Councilwoman. So I can tell you that impact fees were a discussion that the city started years ago. As a part of the comprehensive plan, of course, we have to include the desire to begin implementing the impact fees in this particular document. And what comes from that is a recommendation or steps of action from the ARC to say this is in fact how you will incorporate those impact fees moving forward. As you may or may not know, impact fees are things that have to be state reviewed and regulated as well. You have to put it in your future land use to make sure that you are in fact following that goal and direction that you're stating. And of course, your future land use is necessary inside of this document we're talking about. So once we have this document adopted in October, we'll have the marching orders to move forward with the impact fee study. That study will be drafted. Councilwoman, just so you know, I am budgeting or at least requesting for budget for that impact fee study to be completed. Once it's been completed, that then will be taken over to the state for their review and approval. Once the state has given that, we can then adopt the impact fee process moving forward. That study will include how we're going to mandate and require for these fees. It's also going to identify the necessary costs of infrastructure. So it's going to be a bunch of different things in there to make sure we're not being biased in our decision making on impact fees, but more so being fair and considerable of what the actual costs are in relative to impact fees. So it's coming. As soon as we're done with the adoption of the plan, that's my first marching order that I will be ensuring that we get done. So I'll say that loud and proud, that once we're done with that, we'll move on with the study. But that's only if, in fact, it's included in my budget for the study.
All right, Councilwoman Rao has provided a link to the U.S. Census Bureau, so it is within the chat. Have you looked at Chat Hills for some ideas on land use? They have a 30% use, 70% green space model. Can we adopt that for District 4?
Interesting. So just about 2 weeks ago, Dana, I believe the planning staff, we took tours of various different municipalities just to see what they're doing. Chat Hills was one. We wanted to see, being directly next door to District 4, being very similar with the ag style of land. So we went out and toured that area just to see what they're doing. I can tell you that there were some things of interest that we have looked at Chat Hills that we are looking to try to incorporate. So once we have that prepared and ready, we can present that back out to the public. But right now, it's just as recent as discussion. So thank you for mentioning that piece about Chat Hills, because we are in fact looking at Chat Hills and some of the northern components of Fulton County. We went to Fayette County just to look at how the lands are being developed there so we can ensure that we're not missing the marker here in South Fulton and keeping up with the trends.
All right, we have a statement here. People, please don't wait on developers to bring things to the city. In mind, developers are about making money and not pleasing you. Only you know what you want. There is a way for you to make this happen. I will keep you posted through the Jewel report, and you can go to the chat box to get the information. There needs to be a stoplight installed at the intersection of Old National Highway and Old Bill Cook Road. Who needs to be informed or contacted to have this implemented? For years, this has been a caveat in terms of traffic and accidents.
Thank you. So again, our Public Works Director deals with all the transportation components. His name is Antonio Valenzuela. You can find his contact on, of course, our website or someone in the chat, someone from the team. If you could please include Antonio's email in the chat box for the resident, that will be very helpful.
Okay, Councilwoman Rao, GDOT has been asked to look at Campbellton Road for expansion. There is some widening occurring near the new roundabout. The broadband issue is also an issue in District 1. It's not consistently reliable. Councilwoman Gilliard, jumped. Councilwoman Gilliard, I would love it for District 4, and so would many of my constituents. How do we find out what district our home is in?
So if you're wanting something as simple as maybe calling or emailing us as far as staff, asking that question, as you're seeing on the page now, there's planning the city of South Fulton, ga.gov. You can send that directly to us and ask that question, or you can go to the city's website and of course put your mailing address or your property address inside of our GIS system. And of course, if you click on the link or the option inside of that map that has city council districts, you're able to then receive that information from there. But if you want one directly, I definitely encourage you tonight to send out your address asking for your council district, and one of the teammates on this call will respond back.
Okay, we have been provided with Antonio Venezuela's email address, and just FYI, if you go to our website, to the home page and go to departments, which is going across the top bar, you can click on Public Works and see their webpage, and the information is there for Mr. Venezuela, his phone number and his email address.
Thank you.
Okay, was that it? Let's see. Let me check my planning. And that can wait one more. All right. Councilwoman Rao has provided extra information. GDOT would have to install a traffic light on Old National. Ruben McCullers is the point of contact for Area 3. Please send your request to Ruben McCullers, Area Manager, Douglas, South Fulton, Clayton, College Park Construction, and then the address is provided and his email address, and all that information is provided in the chat. And that concludes.
Oh, awesome. This has been a great discussion with you all. I can truly say that I love participation. So I am almost at a point where I'm begging, please continue, please continue, please continue to give us your feedback. Please continue to participate. We have your information. So I believe that we have, if you register for this event and your email address was included, we're able to further give you the status, the updates, but definitely go on that webpage that I mentioned regarding the public input and include your information so that you can again register for feedback and stay at the table, ready to hear what's next. Again, my goal here in this discussion is to hear from you so we can provide for you. This discussion is for that. So please stay tuned. More is coming. The City of South Fulton is working for you. So I gave you my direct telephone number. So if you need me for anything, please give me a call. And be safe out there. Thank you all for your participation tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.